Good day. My name is David Wild, and this is the first part of a three-part presentation on Chapter 3 on diversity in today's workforce from Connect Master Management 2.0. By the end of this lesson, you will be able to describe trends in the U.S. workforce and their implications for managers and organizations. You will be able to evaluate the opportunities and challenges presented by diversity in an organization, to describe the implications of changing demographics on work-life issues, to evaluate the changes in relationship between organizations and their employees, and finally, you'll be able to evaluate practices used by managers and organizations to cope with a changing workforce. So, in looking at diversity, we'll begin by looking at today's major workforce trends. The word workforce refers to the people who are available for work in the most general sense. We are not just referring to people who work for a given organization, but to all the people who could conceivably work for organizations within some defined boundary. To understand the workforce and how it has been changing, consider these general demographic trends. First, we'll talk about gender and sex. In 1950, about 86% of men were active participants in the civilian workforce, while only a third of all women participated. By 2020, this gap narrowed considerably. About 70% participation for men and almost 60% for women. Although there is still a gap in labor participation rates that favors men, most likely due to the demands of motherhood, women are graduating from college at a higher rate than men today, and there have been increases in the number of women who hold positions of authority and responsibility in organizations. Unfortunately, women still lag significantly in two areas. First, there are far fewer women at the highest levels of organizations and on boards of directors for the largest companies in the United States. Second, women in the workforce earn less than what men earn, today about 85% on average. In a general sense, these differences have been attributed to what is called the glass ceiling, an invisible barrier that prevents women and minorities from rising to higher level jobs and earning equal pay. The next workforce trend we'll talk about is age. As you can see by Table 1 from the text on your screen, our country is becoming older each and every year. The percentage of people in the country who are older is increasing. In fact, by 2030, 1 in 5 Americans will be 65 or older. One implication of this trend is employees may stay in the workforce longer. So, organizations may need to find ways to accommodate employees who are older. A second managerial implication of this trend is that more employees in the workforce may find themselves caring for aging relatives, and thus, employers may consider policies and practices that help employees meet these responsibilities. A third implication is that we now have a multi-generational workforce. Multi-generational refers to the reality that we have people from different generations working together in the workplace. In today's workforce, the majority of workers are still the baby boomers, born between 1946 and 1964. Generation Xers are born between 1965 and 1980. Millennials, also known as Generation Y, are those born between 1981 and 1996. And Generation Z are those born between 1997 and 2012. Race and ethnicity. Trends in the U.S. population suggest that the workforce is becoming more pluralistic. Specifically, the significant decrease in the percentage of the majority white population is being offset by increases in Hispanic, African American, Asian, and multiracial populations. Moreover, the percentage of foreign-born workers is increasing as well. So, in summary on major workforce trends, to a student of management, understanding workforce trends is important because they have implications to managers at all levels of organizations. In today's workforce, there are individuals from several different generations who must find a way to work together in an effort to help the organization to be successful. More women than ever are participating in the U.S. workforce, although they continue to experience a pay gap with their male colleagues. In addition, the workforce is getting older and more diverse. Now let's talk about workplace diversity. The changing demographics in the U.S. population and other societal trends have resulted in a much more diverse workforce and more variety in organizations in terms of the people who work in them. The term diversity is used to capture this type of variety. Specifically, diversity refers to the degree to which members of a group, an organization, a unit, a team, a work group, differ from one another in terms of any attribute that might be used as a basis for categorizing people. So why do we care about diversity? To managers and organizations, the concern with diversity is driven by at least three overarching concerns. First, there are federal and state laws, as well as executive orders, that protect people against discrimination and harassment on the basis of certain characteristics. Failure to comply with these laws can be costly to an organization. Secondly, there are several benefits to organizations that have a more diverse workforce. For example, competition is fierce in many industries, and diversity may serve as a source of competitive advantage. Finally, there are challenges to diversity that need to be managed in order for the benefits to be realized. Failure to recognize and address these challenges may doom even the most well-intended diversity initiatives. Next, let's talk about the legal basis of diversity. Title VII of the Civil Rights Act of 1964 essentially prohibits organizations from treating people differently on the basis of race, color, religion, sex, or national origin. Other laws, such as the Age Discrimination in Employment Act of 1967, the Equal Pay Act of 1963, the Pregnancy Discrimination Act, and the Americans with Disabilities Act of 1990, expanded coverage to characteristics such as age, familial status, pregnancy, disability, sexual orientation, and gender identity. The value in diversity. Many people believe there is inherent value in diversity itself, and because it is moral, just, and right, it is something that should be promoted in organizations. Indeed, society has become much less tolerant of bias and inequity, and so organizations with a culture that does not consider the implications of diversity can face significant problems today. The value of diversity. A major benefit of diversity to organizations is that it can add value. Specifically, diversity can result in a larger pool of employee experiences, knowledge, perspectives, and ideas from which an organization can draw upon to accomplish its goals and objectives. Greater levels of diversity promote exchanges of unique information, which in turn foster learning, unique insights, and innovation. Diversity challenges. One major challenge to diversity is that although we might think we are tolerant and fair, people have deep-rooted beliefs about people who are different, that may serve to unintentionally hinder them in the workplace. Perhaps the best example are stereotypes, or the beliefs we have about a group of people that are generalized to individual members of that group. A second major challenge to diversity is rooted in findings that people have a general tendency to be drawn to others who are perceived to be similar, and to avoid interacting with others who are perceived to be dissimilar from them. The effects of diversity in groups. Diversity seems to have contradictory effects. On the one hand, diversity can promote the exchange of ideas, learning, and innovation, which of course is good for organizations. On the other hand, it can result in communications and related interpersonal problems, which of course are not good for organizations. Researchers who have studied the effect of diversity on small groups and teams have concluded that two factors need to be considered to reconcile this contradiction: the type of diversity and the length of time the group has been in existence. Now, surface level diversity refers to diversity regarding fairly observable characteristics, including race, ethnicity, sex, and age. On the other hand, deep level diversity refers to differences among group members in terms of characteristics that cannot be observed very easily, but that become clearer through the experience of working together. So, in summary on workplace diversity, diversity refers to the degree to which members of a group differ from one another and provides both opportunities and challenges. On the plus side, diversity can promote the exchange of ideas, learning, and innovation among people of different backgrounds and experiences. On the negative side, although we might think we are tolerant and fair, people have deep-rooted beliefs about people who are different from them, which may serve to unintentionally hinder them in the workplace and prevent the organization from becoming as successful as possible. And so that ends the first part of our lecture on Chapter 3 on diversity in today's workforce.